me go ahead and introduce to you our one-star platinum, Ashley Halliwill. Hey, Ashley.
Hey, family, how are we today? Are we good? Are we awake? It's a good Wednesday. I love it. How are you, Charles?
I'm good. I'm good. We're Wednesday here. Um, on to a new day, right? This is me
Yes.
actually just getting the day started. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people who are meeting you for the first time. Let's how I guess I should. Oh, by the way, I should also notate for those of you guys that are brand new, this is more of going to be a conversation. We're going to be doing some deep diving,
Okay.
so that way you get to know the person, and that's super important for everybody, right? So, ever since I've known you, you've always been a very strong, outspoken. You're definitely great at public speaking, coaching, and there's a very big sternness about you. Where do you get all that from? And what is your history? And then ultimately leading up to, like, how did you find evolution travel?
So I will say that I definitely get that from both my parents. They are both very outspoken, very determined, and they were both supervisor manager positions in corporate America. So it was just kind of bred into me by them to kind of be a leader, be in that bossy mode, if you will. But that is very much from both of them. How I found evolution travel
Wait,
was
before
oh,
you go into evolution travel,
uh-huh.
are you an only child? Do you have brothers and sisters growing up with those parents?
So I have an older sister. She's actually a half sister, but her biological dad was not in the picture. And so we grew up as just sisters, right? My dad is her dad. She calls him dad. So it's just the two of us. And grew we grew up here in Oklahoma. And I have lived here all but 1 year of my life. I lived in California for a year from 2013 to 2014. But growing up, I played a lot of sports. I was a very big tomboy. Played softball for 16 years from the time I was 4 until I was 20. Went to college for that. And absolutely loved it. And then played basketball, I think, for about 6 or 7 years, and really love that as well. I'm very big into sports, so that is definitely a passion of mine for sure.
Speaking of which, have you been watching baseball?
Always.
Yeah. How about that Shohei Ohtani? Oh my
He is not human. I'm just gonna say that he's not human. I swear he's an alien, because that man is just out of this world on what he can do. It's
Is
crazy.
he the GOAT?
He is, yes, I'm gonna have to give it to him. He is the GOAT for sure.
It's a full-on consensus all across the board with all
Yeah.
baseball fans that this young man of 31 years old has surpassed Babe Ruth and
Yep.
now broken so many records.
Oh,
Also,
so many. So
two,
many.
what is it? A two-player role, two-role
Yeah.
player, which is oftentimes very much unheard of. And for him to shine in both roles,
Yeah.
breaking records in both roles, I guess that makes him the GOAT now, official.
Yep. Yep.
He's like
And
one.
listen, I'm not a Dodger fan.
I'm not even into baseball, and here he is capturing the, the
Yeah,
the attention of all fans. Wow, it's crazy what he's
it
been.
is. It is for sure. And I'm definitely not a Dodger fan. I'm a Cardinal fan through and through. But I've got to give him his props. He is definitely unlike any other.
All right, so growing up, you were definitely into sports, and
Hmm.
I guess that's where probably you pick up a lot of just kind of your competitiveness, if you will, just, understanding sports, being a sports fan. I come from the martial arts world. So of course, I get it, I understand it, and there's a certain mentality that we get from that, right?
Yeah.
We know how to get our hands dirty, and you're in softball and you're in the dirt right there, sliding and
Yep.
going for bases, base
Yep.
stealing and all kinds of crazy stuff, and even balls like coming your way. So that's wild stuff. Okay, so that's your childhood,
Yeah.
and tell me about like, because clearly there was a whole life before you even see or even discover evolution travel. So
Yeah.
who were you leading up to that?
Oh, not the greatest human on the planet, but so when I was a teenager, I actually had multiple injuries back to back. There was from the time I was 12 until I was 18, I had something happen every single year. I broke my arm 2 years, I broke my finger 1 year, I had to have my appendix removed, I had an ankle surgery, a knee surgery. There was like 6 years back to back where all these different things happened.
Starting at what age?
And huh?
Starting at what age?
At 12. So I broke my arm for the very first time when I was 12. And there was just back to back until I was 18, something major, right? I also had a really big loss when I was 16. My dad's older brother, my Uncle Bob, who I was extremely close with, actually passed away. And so when that happened, I went a little downhill, I'll say, because I started drinking, I started partying, I started doing drugs, and it spiraled from there until I was almost 26, to where I was in
Are we
full-blown
talking
addiction.
18 to 26? That's 8 years.
16 to 26, but yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was about 10 years of being in active addiction, drinking pills, literally whatever. And
How were you able to get away with that at such a young age with your parents?
um my mom is what I like to call codependent. She doesn't like anyone to be mad at her. She doesn't like to ruffle feathers. And so it was very much like if I acted mad at her or if if she thought that she was disappointing me in some way, then it was I'm just going to give in and give her what she wants. And it got very ugly, probably from the time I was about 21 until I stopped when I was 26. It was very ugly in those years. There was a lot of fighting, a lot of arguing, a lot of back and forth. My dad just didn't know what to do. And at that time, addiction, I mean, we've always had addiction in the world, right? But it wasn't nearly as prevalent, maybe, or the resources for getting help for addiction were not nearly as prevalent. And so they just didn't know where to turn. They had no idea how to help, they had no idea what to do. And so it was just kind of this cycle of like, I don't know what to do to help her. And I was just out running and gunning basically.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like didn't know what to do.
No, they had no idea. I was hospitalized multiple times for overdose, almost died 2 or 3 times from taking too many pills. It was quite bad, quite
Wow.
dark.
How do you get out of that? Because that, I mean, you see drug addicts like today. Now it's like fentanyl. It's crazy. Like I
Oh
see
yeah.
people
Yeah.
on the streets like bent over and they're wide awake, high as a kite, but like they can't even walk straight
Yeah.
because they're just like spend so many hours just like bent down.
Yeah.
And addiction is huge. How did you pull out? How did you pull out of that?
So for me specifically, I ended up going to treatment. We were at our wits' end. I had tried a program here that was like an outpatient program, where you go to like a group therapy session for a few hours a day, 3 days a week. But the problem was, as soon as I was leaving there, I was going to get drugs, right? I wasn't able to stay clean. And so I told my mom and my sister, I said, I've got to get out of here. I can't get sober in Tulsa. I've got to get out of here. And I made a comment to my sister, who's 8 years older than I am, right? There's a big age gap. I made a comment to her and I said, I just want to go sit on a beach somewhere and forget all my problems. Like that's my happy place, right? Is the beach, and it just calms me. And so my sister, who was desperate for help for, getting me clean and all of that, spent 2 days on the internet finding a rehab out in California. And she thought that this would be just the perfect place because they actually did weekly beach walks. And she was like, that's perfect. She wants to go sit on a beach. Let's send her here. Right. And so she called. We call her Miss Question America because if you tell her one piece of information, she has 750 follow-up questions. And she wants to know all the details. And so she called and she got all the information, gave the insurance right that I was on, and asked all the questions that she needed to, and got me in there within a couple of days. I think she talked to them one day. I had to talk to them the following day, and then I was on a plane the following night. So, I mean, it was like a 48-hour turnaround, and I was jumping on a plane to California for the first time ever all by myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long
So
did
I spent 30 days inpatient, right? Where like you have no freedom to really do anything. You just go to treatment, go to different classes and groups and therapy and all of that, all day long. We go to meetings in the evening. I did that for 30 days.
what was
And
that like?
then, huh?
What was that like physically? Like,
It was very difficult. It was very difficult, because I was going through detox, which is horrid. You feel like you're dying, but you're not. So I was going through that, and then also having to dig up all of my past, all of my trauma, all of, my childhood stuff that kind of led into this. And it was a lot. It was very heavy. And you have to open your soul basically to complete strangers. I didn't know these people before I walked in the door. And by the time we left, we were family, right? Because we had laid all of our secrets out. We had poured ourselves into each other. But it's not for the weak, for sure.
yeah, I bet 30,
Yeah.
30 days. And a lot of growth happens within that time.
Oh, 100%.
Because now
100%.
drugs are seeping out of your system and
Yep.
you start to get more clarity and
Mm-hmm.
not so foggy anymore.
Yeah.
I think like a big part is to be able to open up and talk about like the things that are binding you down or pressing you and just kind of getting that liberation of breaking free
Yeah.
of that physical addiction and you
I am a huge proponent for that. When I got sober, I decided that we talk here about don't be a secret agent, right? Like we always say that, like let everybody know you're an agent. I took that same kind of mentality with my recovery. I tell everybody that I'm in recovery. I talk about it openly. I talked about it at church. I've talked about it in my school. Anytime somebody meets me, it's one of the first few things that I say, because I never want anybody else to feel like they have to struggle because there's not somebody there that understands. Right. And so I am a huge proponent. I post it on Facebook all the time. I talk about it to people. My motto, if you will, is that I recover out loud so that nobody has to suffer in silence. And that is very much my mentality on that.
yeah, I've always learned like it's hard for people to watch people struggling when they're going through it, but people absolutely love triumphant stories.
Hmm.
The crap that you went through in your life and how you pulled out of it. But when you're
Yeah.
thick of it, it's very difficult for people, at least on a social media basis,
Yeah.
to kind of watch like, oh man, this person needs help. And
Yeah.
so for you to, triumph out of that and get out of that bad situation, a big celebration to you.
Thank you.
So what
Thank
happened? Now, okay, so now you recovered,
you. Hmm.
right? You exit out of that rehabilitation center. Now
Hmm.
what do you do? How old are you?
I actually celebrated my 26th birthday in rehab. So I went in, I think I got there on January 1st. I did my 30 days of inpatient treatment, and then we did what's called like a transition house. And I did that for 2 weeks. That's basically where in the morning from about 8 a.m. to noon, you go to therapy, you go to more groups, right? You don't have the morning free. You're busy. But then they give you the afternoon free in order to transition you back to real life, right? So it's you have a little more freedom, but they're not giving you full reign, right? But it's in order to kind of help you get back to normal life. And so while I was in that
I
transition
would
house,
I would imagine,
huh?
sorry to interrupt you. I would
No, you're
imagine
fine.
like during this transition phase, this is where it's that small window that you go back into society.
Yep.
A number of people can just kind of break
Oh yeah.
and then just
Yeah.
screw up with
Yep. It's
normal.
very common. There was actually multiple girls who went to the transition house before I did that ended up coming back into the main treatment center because they had relapsed. They had gone out and they couldn't handle the freedom.
Right?
And so we got in there. I actually turned 26 while I was in that transition house. We had a little small, cake and little birthday party there. And I stayed there for about 2 weeks before I ended up coming back home
Nice.
to Oklahoma.
So
Yeah.
you held up. You
Yeah.
didn't relapse.
Nope. I have been sober ever since December 28th, or sorry, yeah, December 28th, will be 14 years that
So what
I've
does
been
that mean?
sober.
Like you don't do anything? Like no alcohol, not even a beer?
Nope. No, no alcohol, no drugs of any kind, no nothing.
Right. Good for you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So now you're 26, clear-headed, probably now motivated, wanting to
Yeah.
take on the world. What happens then?
So I came back here. I went back to work at an eye doctor that I had been working at. I actually ended up over time working there for about 9 years. And I went back to work there for a little bit. This was in 2012 that I came back home. So like March, end of February, beginning of March of 2012, that I came back home. And I had made five really good friends in treatment. We had all been in there together. We really connected. All of us were actually the only five out of 12 that stayed sober. And I really truly believe it's because of the bond that we created because we held each other accountable, right? And so I came back home, but I was going out there like every 6 months to see my friends. And one of my friends, she was my best friend at the time, Tiffany. I would go out there and I would stay for, 4 or 5 days, go stay with her. We would go run around, go hang out. And I was doing that about every 6 months. And she finally talked me into moving out there in I moved out there in July of 2013. So I was home about a year and a half or a little less than a year and a half, and ended up moving out there. I had started school college to finish my bachelor's degree
At
um,
27?
in 2013.
So you're 27 around that.
I would, yeah, yeah. I had started an online school to finish my bachelor's degree. I knew I wanted to be a therapist. I wanted to help other people get sober. My therapist in treatment had been very crucial in my recovery and very, like, we just really connected. And so I decided to finish school, get my bachelor's, and try to become a therapist. And so when I decided that, Oklahoma does not have very good treatment facilities. We are quite behind the times. And so I had decided that I was meant to go to California. Like, I just felt this pull in my heart, not just from my friends there, but because of the fact that I wanted to be a therapist and work in treatment. And they have treatment facilities out there like crazy. I mean, they're everywhere, and the recovery out there is really amazing. And so I just felt this pull in my heart. I told my parents I am going to move to California. I'm gonna move out there, and of course they were not happy. My mom thought it was the end of the world, because she's like, "You're never gonna come back," and I was like, "I am gonna come back. I promise. I want to be in Oklahoma. I just need to work in treatment and while I'm finishing school and like get that experience, right?" So I moved out there July of 2013. And when I moved there, I was moving out there with the intention of living with my best friend for a little bit. And then as I got out there, she's like, well, I thought about it. I talked to my parents, and I really just, I don't know that it's a good idea. And so I'm already out there. My car is full of my stuff. I've moved halfway across the country,
Wow.
and I have nowhere to live.
Urgency of telling you before you took the job.
Right, right. And I was like, okay,
Having days to get there.
yeah,
And she
yeah,
surprised me with that man, like really? Seriously?
right,
Doing this to me now? Come on.
yeah, facts,
Okay.
facts.
All right.
And she did say you can stay here for, a couple of weeks until you find something, like that's not a problem, right? I had went and interviewed for a couple of different jobs because I wasn't really finding anything in treatment. So I had also went to an eye doctor because I had a lot of experience there. And I went to an interview at a treatment facility. I got out there like I think middle of the week, maybe like on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and I had a interview with them on Friday. And so I go down. It was about a 45-minute drive. I go down there. I do my interview. I really liked it. And I left. They're like, okay, you're good to go. Got all the way back to her house. So 45 minutes back, right? Got all the way to her house, and I got a phone call from them, and they were like, hey, Ashley, this is Hope by the Sea. You just left an interview with us. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, is there any way that you could come back down here? I really want you to meet like, she was like the head lady, right? One of the bosses. And I was like, yeah, I can come back. And so I was like, it's gonna take me a minute. I'm about 45 minutes away. And he's like, oh, that's fine, no problem. So I go back down there, meet with her, and they end up telling me that they want to hire me. And this was God in work, because the position was for a live-in house manager. So it gave me a place to live.
Oh,
I didn't have to go find a house. I didn't have to pay rent. I didn't have to do any of that, right? It was a live-in house manager. So my job was to live in the house with the female clients that went there. And I was like the house manager, and basically took them up to the center for groups and therapy and all that during the day. I had the day free from about 8:30 until I think I picked them up at like 4 or 3:30, something like that. So I had that time free during the day. And then in the evening, I would cook dinner. We would go to a meeting. I would get, all of them ready, get them in, make them go to bed. And then the next morning, we would all get up, get ready, and I would take them to the center. And so it solved every problem that I had. I needed a job, it gave me that. I needed a place to live, it gave me that. And it was in treatment. So it was absolutely what I wanted.
okay. How long was that?
So, I worked there 13 months.
Oh,
But in January of that year, or in January of 2014, so I had been there about 6 months, is when I actually met Craig. For those of you that don't know who Craig is, that is my now ex-husband. He came down for an interview, got a job, started working together, and we hit it off very quickly, and started dating. We were engaged, I think 4 months after we met.
wow.
Um, yeah, got engaged. And to tell you how competitive I am, because we talked about that. He took me to the beach, and in order to propose to me, he challenged me to a rock throwing contest. And he said, "I bet I can throw a rock farther than you into the ocean." And I was like, "Pff, no, you can't, bro. No, you can't." And so he's like, "Fine, I'll go first." And he draws a line in the sand, and he gets up and he throws the rock out there. And I was like, "That's weak, bro. I got this." And so I get up and I, rear back, I crow hop, I throw it. And I was like, "Ha ha, I won." And I turn around and he was down on one knee with a ring, and asked me to marry him. So he knew just how competitive I was. He knew that that would distract me enough, that he could do what he was trying to do. Um, so we got engaged in May of 2014. Ended up moving back to Oklahoma. We were tired of California stuff. At the rehab had been a little difficult, because we worked together. They told us from the very beginning, you cannot let anyone know that you're dating. So we had to act like we didn't know each other, right? No, Michael, not a 13 step, because we were both well into recovery. We worked together. He was never a client. I had been sober for 2 years. He had been sober for about 15 months when we met. And he had come from, somewhere else and was getting a job there. He was the male live-in house manager. So he managed one of the guys' houses. And we dated, but couldn't really tell anybody, right? Like we had to keep it a secret. We had to act like we didn't know each other, and that was really hard. And so in August of that year, we decided to move back to Oklahoma where all of my family was. And so we moved back here. We ended up getting married in May of 2015. So from the time we got back until we got married, it was just wedding stuff, right? Dress shopping and all decorations and planning and all of that craziness. And so we ended up getting married in May of 2015 and ended up having our first son, in January of 2017. It took us a while to get pregnant. We actually had a miscarriage in there, which was very difficult. And he's been in recovery ever since. I've been in recovery ever since. Like we've both been sober for a very long time. Um, and we had my oldest son, Bryson, in January of 2017. Took us a little over a year or right out a year to get pregnant with him. It was very difficult for a while. Bought a house, did all the, married family, having kids thing. We tried for a second kid, and in that time, I started my master's program. Where in the state of Oklahoma, you actually have to have your master's degree in order to be a therapist. And in other states, you only need a bachelor's, but here we step it up a level and you have to have a master's. So I got accepted into the master's program, in the fall of 2016. So right, or yeah, no, fall of 2015. So right after we had gotten married, I had started school later that same year. And it was like a 2.5 year program. And so my last full year of going through my master's program, I was pregnant with my son, my oldest son. And that was a very difficult time because I worked at a methadone clinic as a counselor. I worked from 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. In that last year, I then had to do from 1 to 5, I had to do an internship. And then I had school twice a week at from 4:30 to 10. And so I was a very tired, very stressed out pregnant lady, doing all of that for that final year. It was definitely tough for sure. It was a lot. Yeah. But I got through it. I graduated in December of 2017. I went into thanks, Boo. Actually got into straight into counseling because I had been working as a therapist under someone who was licensed. I already had all of my hours that I needed. So I went straight into getting my license. I was licensed by February and started seeing clients. I was working on my own, basically like a 1099 independent contractor, right? I was working under somebody and did that for many years. Um, and then in 2020, August of 2020 is when we had Cooper, my youngest son. He took a little over 2 years for us to get pregnant. It was very trying on that as well. Right after Cooper was born, we actually had Bryson tested and found out that he was autistic. So that was in March of 21. So Cooper was roughly, 6, 8 months old. And he got diagnosed with autism. He was about 3 at the time, just over 3. And that is kind of when I realized that I had to start looking for something else. He had been in daycare for a little bit, but when I would go pick him up at least 3 or 4 times a week, they would come out and say, well, he hit a kid today, or he really had a rough day. He had some meltdowns, like all these problems, right? And that's kind of what pushed us into getting him tested, was to kind of find out like what is it that's causing this. And so when he got diagnosed, I had kind of already started thinking like I need to do something different. I was counseling because of COVID. I was actually counseling from home over Zoom, and had been for about a year or so. And I was like, this is just not working with having both of these kids at home. When you're counseling, you need privacy, right? Like you're going through trauma, you're talking to people about the hardest stuff. And I had 2 kids that I was like, I don't know what to do with y'all, right? Um,
Were they
so
like door or just coming in during sessions?
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. They had no idea
Only
where
imagine
Cooper.
someone having like a breakdown moment,
Right.
doing like this session, and a kid
Yep.
comes in.
Just pops in, or I wouldn't be able to focus because Cooper, who is my stage 5 clinger, that's my mama's boy. He would lay outside my door and just cry when, like, Craig would be there in the living room, and
Yeah.
he would just lay outside my door and just cry, and just until I came out. And I can hear it, right? Like literally right
Kind of
outside my
ignore
door.
for your patient. You're gonna.
Yeah.
Oh
And I'm
God.
like, I can't focus on what's going on right now. Like,
I'm
I'm
just
supposed to be
imagining
using
that
active
scenario.
listening and I can't because my child is screaming outside my door.
No, no, that
It
must.
was rough.
Yeah, like how many of those can you really go through before?
Right. Right. I was losing my mind by that point because Bryson, with his autism, he was having meltdowns, and I mean like level 5 meltdowns. And it was usually like 10 or 12 times a day, and they would last like 20, 30 minutes. Like it was super draining until we figured out what was going on and how to help him. And so not only am I dealing with all of that at home and two kids and all of that, I'm also listening to other people's trauma and taking that on and trying to help them. And it was very much like bleeding out, right? Like I've got all of this energy that's going out and not enough that's coming in. Um,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
impossible. Like trying to be a therapist because like 90% of your occupation is to listen,
yep,
and
yep,
I just can't get it out of my head. Like
yep.
you're doing that,
Listen and empathize and try to understand. And yeah, it's
hanging and screaming in the background. That's what it's like having kids. Like even if your kid is
100%, 100%.
it's just like that. So okay.
Yeah.
So then you realize, all right, this is just not is going to work.
Yeah, it's not going to work. I love, being able to help people. I love being a therapist, but it's so much going on in my personal life and so much going on with the kids that I'm like, I just can't, I don't have the capacity to do this right now.
Sure.
Maybe down the road, right? Like maybe I can come back to this, but right now in this season of life, I just can't. And so I was kind of looking for something else. And that was when Facebook actually had their job board on there.
Okay.
They got rid of it a long time ago. But they had their job board on there, and the person that I signed up under had put a job ad for a remote travel agent.
Okay.
And I've always loved to travel. Craig and I traveled with the kids whenever we could. We were very, very broke at the time. But if we could get a weekend getaway or we would, go somewhere, we loved traveling. We loved it. And so I was like, well, maybe I could do this and get like extra income and cut back my hours as a therapist, right? Like maybe I can, instead of working 20 or 30 hours a week, maybe I can do like 10 or 15, and then I can move those people to when Craig is home, or I can, go get an office and go there. And so it very much started out as I just need some more income so I can cut back over here and give myself a little bit of a break, right? Um, so I sat through a meeting by our amazing Nikki Lee, where Charles popped his head in for a little bit as well. And I absolutely fell in love with her energy, with her excitement, with the way she talked to people. It was very, very contagious, right? To just hear her and how excited she was about this. And I will tell you, I sat on an 8 p.m. presentation and we did not get done until almost 10:30. It was a 2.5 hour presentation. So those of you that are like, oh, it's an hour, ugh, I was on there for 2.5. But I didn't even realize how long I was on there because that's how captivating she was. And I was just all in. I was mesmerized by it. And so I actually was one of those that told my sponsor, hey, I am going to have to let you know tomorrow. I'm going to talk to my husband and make a decision on this, right? I'm going to share it with him. And so she was like, yeah, no problem. So I talked to Craig the next day. He thought it was a scam. He's like, I don't know, that sounds like a scam to me. And I was like, it's not. Like I saw people, like I saw the people, I talked to the people, right? Like all this stuff. And he was like, well, fine, but if it becomes a scam, like I told you so, right? Like that was kind of his mentality on it. And we actually had to put it on a credit card. And it was only $49 to start for me. But I had to put it on a credit card. That's how broke we were. We didn't even have the $49 to start. But I knew that it was something I could be passionate about. I was very invested, and saw the potential. And so I was like, I'm in, like, I'm absolutely in. So I got signed up. It was the end of February of 2021. Whenever I got signed up, I think like the 21st of February, that I got signed up and I was like, okay, we're gonna do this. Part-time, right? Just extra income, use some of the perks for our own travel, right? So that I can stop working so much as a therapist, have a little bit of freedom, not be going crazy, all the time. And so I booked a few trips. I think I booked like $30,000 in sales in the first 6 months, like not a lot. But I booked, a few trips and made a little bit. And when it got announced that convention was in Vegas that year, 2021, I knew I needed to be there. My sister and I had been in some network marketing companies before, and I had gone to a convention with one of those companies, and I knew the potential that they have, right? I knew that when I left that one, I was on fire. I felt fueled up, ready to, be successful. Like I had all of that from that convention. And so I knew like I need to get to this convention and really get plugged in, right? And so, in order to go, Cooper was still nursing. He was about 11 months old by the time we went to convention. He was still nursing. So, it was either take him and someone to watch him while I'm in these trainings. But then I had nowhere to send Bryson. I had no one to watch him because my dad worked at the time. Craig worked at the time. Craig's parents worked, or they lived in California at the time. And so I was like, I have to bring both kids. So I talked to my parents. They had never been to Vegas. They had wanted to go just to experience it, just to say they had been. And so I said, okay, let's all pack up. Let's all fly out to Vegas to convention. While I'm in the trainings during the day, you guys watch the kids. I'll even pay. I paid for them to go to the Mandalay Bay Aquarium, right? And then they went to a couple other places, right, while they were there, the Hoover Dam, right? So I said, you guys take them during the day while I'm in these trainings. And at night, when I get done at like 5 or 6, I will come back. I will keep the kids at night, and you guys can go do stuff in Vegas, right? Go to a show or go gamble, eat, whatever you want to do. And they're like, okay, let's do it. And so we end up going out there. All five of us shared one room at the, what was that, the Sahara, I think is where it was that year. We shared one room, all five of us. um I paid for that, and that was all I could afford, right? I couldn't afford to have two rooms. So went to the trainings during the day. I missed team night. I didn't even know about team night because I was not very plugged in for that first 6 months. And so I was in Christina's chat. That's who my platinum was at the time. I was in Christina's chat, but I wasn't really plugged in and like paying attention to things. And I was very just on the outskirts, like, hey, I'm doing my own thing, that kind of thing. My direct sponsor, the person who brought me in, and I say this all the time, any speech I give, any training I do, my direct sponsor got me through our first couple of steps of training, and that was it. She didn't guide me, didn't mentor me, didn't do any of that. And one thing that I always tell people is that your sponsor is not does not determine your success. You get to determine your success. My sponsor, yeah, doesn't define you. My sponsor did not do anything with me other than just those few little steps. And I was unplugged for those 6 months, right? Like I didn't really know a whole lot, but I still went and booked $30,000 even without the help from her. I plugged into the trainings that I could and tried to learn stuff on my own. I played around in the vendors to learn them. I really took that initiative myself in order to figure that out. And so we go to convention. Um, and that was what, I think at that time we went in August. So it was about 2 months after Nikki had passed. And I was very, very sad because I was very much looking forward to meeting her at convention. And I remember walking up to you, Charles, and telling you how sorry I was to hear that Nikki had passed, and how She had really inspired me to join the business with her presentation. And I was so nervous to come talk to you. But I just felt like I needed to do that. And so went to the trainings during the day, didn't go to team night, didn't even know what team night was at the time. And I remember sitting in a training. We kind of had a break and we were about to start training back. And I remember this little thing in front of me turns around and sees my name tag and sees my name on there. And she goes, "Oh, Ashley, you're on my team." And I was like, "Am I?" And she goes, "Yeah, I'm Christina Bertels." And I was like, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you." Right. And so
Wow.
we
Right.
sit there and talk for a few minutes, not very long,
Sure.
just a couple minutes, but she recognized my name. And you're right. That's the moment I would never try to get rid of you, boo. But it was literally like a 3 minute conversation or something, like nothing, because we started training back, right? Like it was nothing big. But we went on with training. Coach Val got up and gave an amazing locker room training. And in that, she said, if you're not team building, why not? What are you afraid of? And I am someone who, being a therapist, a former therapist, I always do self-reflection. Like I always look at that kind of stuff. And so I thought about it and I was scared of failing. But I was also scared of succeeding. Like I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know if I could do that right. And so I decided on the way home that I was going to start team building. And I remember messaging Christina whenever I decided to start team building. And I was like, "Hey, I posted a job ad and I have no idea what I'm doing." One of those, right? And she was like, "Okay, well, let's walk through this," right? So she walks me through it. And I took off on team building, ended up hitting gold by what was it, November of that year, I think.
Wow.
I think it was November. By November and or maybe December, ended up hitting gold and I ended up quitting my counseling job 3 days before Christmas because of that. And I was like, listen, I am making enough that I can quit counseling and put all of my focus into this now. And so that's what I did. I hit gold, quit my counseling job. I ended up hitting double gold, I think, in like June or May or something like that. Hit double gold and took off from there. Um, and just really chased after going as high as I could. I wanted to be platinum. I made that very apparent to Christina and Tommy and Amy, everybody, right, that I wanted to be a platinum. And all three of them took the time to pour into me, even Tommy, who I'm nowhere on her team. My numbers don't matter at all for her team. She would even help me and coach me and hold me accountable. And we started to grow this really amazing friendship between the four of us that is just even better today. And now we've added Coco to that. But they have always, since that time, been my accountability partners, right? They have always been the ones that held me to a higher standard, that didn't let me slack off, that always pushed me to be better. And it has just been amazing ever since that. And it just took that little 3 minute conversation of Christina reaching out to me at that first convention.
Right. Making that connection to know who she is.
Hmm.
And even though like she can fit in your pocket, the
Right.
powerhouse that she is, what
Yeah.
like personality and person that she is.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Oh,
it was crazy because I tell people all the time, Christina stalks her back office. She knows the people on her team, right? And all she had to do was see my name. And I can tell you in that first 6 months, I didn't post in the chat very much because I was so unplugged, right? And so the fact that she recognized my name without ever seeing me on Zoom or anything like that. She just recognized my name and made that introduction. And I think even said, if you ever need anything, feel free to reach out, and gave me that ability to feel like I had some kind of support where I hadn't before.
Wow. And then you became a platinum, one star platinum, and now you have all these amazing people that become more than just people. I mean,
Yeah.
business partners, but now become in a way like your accountability partners and like in a lot of ways your family.
Oh yeah, 100%. I call them my family all the time. And what's crazy is being in recovery. When I go to an event and there's a champagne toast, or there's, we go out or whatever, if there's alcohol around, most people who are not in recovery and don't really know a lot about recovery, it doesn't even really cross their mind that I'm there, or that there's drinking there or anything like that, which is fine. It doesn't have to. But these four, and I'm including Coco in that, these four have taken the time to learn about recovery. They've asked me about recovery. What are some of your triggers? What do we need to know in order to help, right? And anytime that there's alcohol around, they are constantly coming up to me, "Hey, you good? Are you good? Do we need to leave? Are you okay?" Right? Constantly checking in. And to me, that's more than friendship. That's family, right? Like that is a different level of accountability, a different level of trust and love. And they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to learn about recovery, but all four of them have. And all four of them are there constantly for
Cool.
that. Um, right, Tracy and Leah? And in December of last year, I actually am going through a divorce, and have been since December of last year. Craig and I decided that it wasn't going to work anymore. It hadn't been working for many years. But I didn't have the strength to leave before that. But being in this company and around people who really pour into your mindset and really like hype you up and try to help you get stronger, though being around that really opened my eyes and helped me grow as an individual, to the point where I said, like, I can't do this anymore. This is not a healthy marriage. This is not what I want for myself or my children. And I can't do this anymore. And those four people and others have been there ever since. I've had many conversations with Val, and she's more of a little rough and tough, where she basically told me, adjust your crown, queen, and let's go, right? She likes to be a little more to the point. But Christina, Coco, Amy, Tommy have sat with me in breakdowns, in crying moments, in moments where I felt like giving up. They sat with that and helped me to, see a way out, walk with me, crawl with me if they needed to. Gigi has always been one that has been there as well. Jody even has called me multiple times, over the last several months, in order to just check on me, like, "Hey, how you doing? Is there anything you need?" Right? And this Evo family, Krista, has been a huge, huge blessing as well. We just took a trip, to celebrate divorce. And just this family that we have here has been so instrumental in helping me keep my head above water, in helping me continue to push forward, continue to grow, and not allow lifing to pull me back from my goals, right? To not give up. And it was not always easy. Because that last
It still
10
is,
months,
right?
huh?
Like, still isn't, you're
Yeah.
still because
Yeah.
even through the success of what you've experienced in this business, I mean, we still go through very real human aspects of life. You know,
Yeah.
you
Yep.
get into this business as married, and now you're exiting the marriage for
Yeah.
what you had mentioned prior, and so you're still going through it. But I think my big takeaway is to know that through this hard process, that you had people that you met through this business that are with you along this journey
Oh
of,
yeah.
you know, pain and then maybe liberation of, this, the burden of having a bad marriage and relationship, but
Yeah.
there for you. And I think that's very huge to know that we do go beyond just being business partners,
Oh,
that
100%.
are there for you throughout your ride, even in our personal lives.
Yeah. Yeah, they are definitely family. And I will shout out, I like to call them my faux husbands, as in fake husbands. And it's all of the people I've mentioned, all their husbands, right? Killian, Justin, Henry, I saw your comment. Damon, right? All of these husbands of my friends that literally take care of me whenever we're out at an event. They're very in tune with my recovery as well. I can't tell you how many times Killian and Justin will walk up and, hey, do you need a water? Do you want a Dr. Pepper? Damon, same thing, right? And just making sure that I'm taken care of as well. And it is, we're all family, right? It's gone way beyond business partners. It's gone way beyond just friends. I know that I can call on them at any moment, that they will be there, that they'll walk through any moment with me. And they have, right? And the last 10 months was very difficult in my recovery, because I just wanted to drink to escape the pain, right? To escape everything that was going on. And there was many times that I was calling any of those people like, hey, I need to talk to you so that I don't go to the store and get alcohol, or I don't, relapse or whatever. And all of them have the same response: Ashley, if you go do that, I will come up there and kick your butt. And I will beat you to death. Or Christina threatens to bite my ankles, right? But I know that they mean that. I know that they are that invested, right? And that supportive, that if I did do that, they're going to be on the doorstep. And that's good accountability, right? Like that's amazing accountability to have.
I'm going to pivot here for a second.
Okay.
Like what has, I mean, when we talk about what this company has done for you, like the big takeaway is that people have become more than business partners. They become true friends and family like. And of course, you get to be the beneficiary of their husbands giving their care for your current situation. I see it as they're gonna ride this through with you until
Yeah.
you're, completely liberated from this situation. But like, what has evolution done for you financially? Because like
So,
some of the things that I've witnessed is I do see, because I saw you and Krista, and if I'm right, Val, you guys all went to Thailand together, pet
uh-huh.
tigers and all kinds of cool stuff, right?
Yeah.
Doing those kind of things, and then you and Krista went out and said you did like a celebrate divorce trip.
Yeah. So financially, like the money that comes in, the trips that I've been able to take, and the trips I've been able to take my kids on, to the point that my son thinks it's normal to go to Universal or Disney for his birthday every year.
Nice.
And I have to reel him back in a little bit to say, son, do you realize when I was a kid, I went to Disney World one time when I was 8, and never went to Disneyland until I was an adult, right? Never went to Universal until I was an adult. But he thinks that's normal, right? Or it's, hey, mom, when are we going on another cruise? When are we going here? When are we going there? These travel agent kids, I tell you, they're a different breed. But I wanted that for my kids. I wanted to give them that different life where they saw the world, right? They saw much more of it than I did. And they got to experience really cool things in their childhood and for the rest of their lives. And that is a huge blessing. I've taken amazing trips. I get to take my my bucket list trip to Italy in February for my 40th birthday. I get to go to Dubai in June of next year. Last year, Charles and I swam with sharks in Hawaii, which has was on my bucket list my whole life, like at the top of my bucket list because I'm obsessed with sharks. And so being able to experience that stuff because of the money that I make here, I'm just fulfilling my dreams, right? Like I just keep making dreams into a reality. And that's a super cool moment, right? When I got in that water and saw the sharks and I was like, oh my gosh, I've literally wanted to do this my whole life. And now I'm here. Like this is real life, right? I'm not just dreaming anymore. And so that has been really cool. But the best thing about what it's given me financially is the fact that when Craig and I decided that we were getting divorced and I became a single mom, I didn't have to go back to corporate America. I didn't have to start putting my kids in a public school daycare or a public school because they're in a homeschool hybrid. So they go to school 2 days a week at a homeschool group, and we homeschool the other 3 days. So not only do I work this business, I also homeschool them. But I I needed that because Bryson can't sit in a classroom for 8 hours a day at a desk and function, right? It's not in him. And so whenever we got divorced, I was incredibly thankful for the fact that I have this business built up. And when I really needed it, right? When I needed it the most, it was there. And I can continue to send them to their private homeschool group. I can continue to homeschool them. I can continue to work from home, and I don't have to give up on this and go back to corporate America just to take care of my family,
Absolutely.
right? And so that has been the greatest blessing for sure, financial wise, because of this company. Of course, Gigi, I know you're crying. You're always crying.
I know we're a little bit over, but I guess my last question to you, especially because we do have brand new agents in this business, what's the biggest advice that you would have for, let's say, agents that are just starting out, as well as agents that haven't been able to get some momentum going?
I would say some of my biggest things that I tell my new agents is number one, plug in. And of course, that means plug into the trainings on Zoom and plug into your mentor and your team and the company as a whole. But it also means plug at in-person events. Had I not gone to convention in 2021, I never would have heard that speech or that training from Coach Val. I never would have met Christina in that moment, right? I'm sure I would have met her some other time, but I may not have stuck around by that point, right? I may have just thought, oh, this isn't really for me. I definitely wouldn't be where I am today had I not shown up to that convention. I've shown up to boot camps, study halls, right? All the in-person things that I can, I show up to those so that I can connect with people, so that I can learn from other leaders. And so plugging in is one of my biggest things that I tell people. Number two is being consistent. If you want to be successful, it's a daily routine, right? It's not, oh, I'm going to give 120% today and I'm going to give 20% tomorrow. Let's just give 100% every day, right? Even if you don't feel like you can give 100%, let's give 80% every single day, right? But staying consistent every single day on that is what is going to move that notch of success. That is what is going to get you to the next level. Because being inconsistent is not going to give you those results. It takes too long. And getting your mindset right. I know a lot of people have, maybe a spouse or a family member or a friend that's telling them this is a scam or it's not going to work or you're never going to be successful. That was very much Craig when I first started. And it took me getting to double gold. So I had been in the business for over a year. It took me getting to double gold before he finally shut up. and quit telling me that it was a scam and it was never gonna work.
Wow.
And I had to just push through that every day, right? Like I had to know in my heart and in my mind that this was going to work and I was going to make it work. And I went into every day with that mindset, and just kept consistent and tried to prove everybody wrong that said it wasn't going to work.
That's pretty incredible considering, you know, your husband or your spouse is the closest person to you on your,
Yeah.
and for you to have to weather that uphill battle for
Yeah.
you having to hear that, or that general, you may not say it every day, but you feel that energy,
Mm.
like scoffing at what you're doing. And
Oh,
for
yeah.
barrel through that is
Yeah, and the complaining, "You're working too much. You're not out here enough," whatever, it's not always "This is a scam," or "This isn't gonna work." It's the complaining because I'm not sitting on the couch watching a movie. I'm on the couch on my computer working while the movie's on, right? Or something like that, or I'm on a training at 8 o'clock at night. And it was very much just the little comments here and there with that.
all right. Um, that you shared a profound story. I will be uploading, of course, this video on YouTube. If you don't know where to catch it, it's under Evolution Power Hour. So please go there, find it. All you have to do is a YouTube search. I upload the videos there. I think you have one of the most powerful stories, like to know what kind of challenges that you had to face growing up from addiction to recovery, then to really put yourself through a master's degree, that level of schooling and succeeding in that, getting yourself, and then let alone, having an autistic child that is a challenge on its own for you to be able to manage through that, and now even facing challenges today of having to go through the elements of going through a separation.
Yeah.
These are all very big, things or events that happen in your life, and for you to be able to get through that and going through it, but at the same time, finding your crevices of wins along the way, and
Mhm.
finding, even then, the joys of having to be able to live your life, or at least afford to give your children a freer lifestyle. I think to be tremendously commended for. So
Thank
everybody,
you.
if you guys can, just give her a huge round of applause in the chat, just to just acknowledge, the things that she's going through, what she went through and what she's going through today. And I want to say thank you for sharing your story. I think this will
Of course.
resonate really with a lot of people,
Well,
because
good.
people will realize that, we are very much real people.
Mhm.
We go through everyday struggles just like everyone else. And so, for you to, manage that here and telling your story, I think there's going to be another um, power hour with you, obviously, down the road,
I'm always open.
as we get through this separation and how the story unfolds, down the road. So I
Okay.
think, we're gonna see a different energy. And, I can kind of see it, like, you're smiling, but I know that separation isn't easy, and I
Yeah.
know you're, you could be going through it, and I'm so happy that you have true friends and family members that are in this business that are going and walking this journey with you. So.
Me too. Me too.
Well, thank you, everyone. Again, YouTube, Evolution Power Hour. All you got to do is a quick search to it. Please subscribe. So that way, and the notification, obviously, so that way when I do upload, it's right there. It just alerts you, especially for all of you guys that are on YouTube. So, with that said, that concludes today's Power Hour and the story of Ashley Halliwill, not Hawaiian. Everyone calls her Hawaiian because that it looks like Hawaii. Anyway, thank you so much, Ashley, for coming on and giving us
Thanks for
your.
having me. I appreciate it.
So, with that said, have a blessed one, guys, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right, guys, have a good one.